Angelique recently purchased a sectional title unit. The tenants leasing the unit informed Angelique, of water leaking down the kitchen walls. The tenants advised that this has been an ongoing problem. After signing the OTP, the estate agent mentioned verbally to Angelique that maintenance repairs were going to be conducted on the property. Angelique then presumed that it was going to be done regarding this water leak or damage. She then took it in good faith that the repairs were conducted. The problem is now that this water leak is back and it's actually causing damage to the property itself, to the kitchen units. Angelique then approached the previous owner and said, look, this is the situation. And the previous owner said, look, not my problem. These were never terms in the sale agreement. And in fact, the people who came out to repair the property in the first place, you would have to contact them and there would be a warranty in place and you'd have to then follow up with those plumbers or repairmen, as it were. Angelique is now a little bit confused. She doesn't know who to go after or how to solve this matter. Cilna, can we provide Angelique with some advice here?
Yes, so Chris, it's a very interesting question, and I think it's something that happens very, very often, that there are some maintenance and repairs that has to be done during or close to a sale and well, to transfer, and it isn't done to the standard that the purchaser would have in mind. So practically for Angelique, I think something very important that I picked up from the question was she made reference to an agent. And it's important to keep in mind that the Consumer Protection Act specifically says if there's an intermediary involved in a transaction like this, like the sale of immovable property, the Consumer Protection Act does apply. And that means that you need to deliver a product that is free of defects. Now, I've said on this exact Wednesday webinar 1.75 million times, there isn't something as a building without any defects. Even a brand new property has stuff. Yes, your fittings might be brand new and they might be amazing and the washers are new, so the taps aren't dripping. Well, for the first 3 weeks at least, you've got that going for you. But from there will be settling cracks, there's always stuff in a property. So to deliver a product free of defects in the context of immovable property is really, in my opinion, impossible, which is why we need to do a seller's declaration. That means the seller has to declare anything that he is aware of that is not perfect. So any defect that the seller is aware of, he has to declare to the purchaser. Now this becomes tricky because you might not know about some defect, and then it can be seen as a purposeful attempt to hide those defects from the purchaser, which is not the case, because not everybody use independent inspectors, which we do recommend before they sell the property. So what I recommend for a seller in a situation like this is to, instead of just saying there's no defects, say, I don't know what the condition of the roof is. I am unsure if there's termites. I've never seen a termite, but I can't commit to a version. There might be termites, and now I guarantee that there isn't, then there is termites. So something like a tap, back to Angelique's question, I mean a leak. If you know about it, it was discussed, it is open, it's on the table. The seller attempted to repair those damages. It is true, and it's fantastic that the seller actually used what was this, a plumber that did the repairs, that they do have a guarantee on their work and that they can return and repair if it is in fact something that can be repaired. If it's something where it's a leak that is going to mean that the body corporate has to repair that because it's bigger than just this particular property. Bruno will take us through that more. But if it's not that, if it is not a sectional title unit, you've purchased it, the seller did what he had to do by getting the plumber out. The plumber did the repairs, they gave the warranty. I do unfortunately agree with the seller in this context that now we need to take it up with the plumber. And I must say, I'm a little into about who has to take it up with the plumber. It was originally the seller that instructed him. So the relationship is with the seller, but the guarantee that the plumber is giving isn't to the person he contracted with. It was because it was for that work. And the work was done now to the purchaser's property, not to the seller's. So in that context, I can see why it might make more sense for the purchaser to take it up with the plumber. But if it is more a higher up leak that is causing a problem, it's something that the body corporate will more likely have to deal with. Bruno, don't you want to give us a bit more detail there on the body corporate side of things?
Sure. Look, I think there you hit the nail on the head. So we need to remember how body corporates are normally set out, and like the plumbing in the walls, especially if they're stacked units, how the plumbing runs up and supplies water to various units. So we had situations, for example, where toilets on the second floor, third floor were leaking onto the bottom floor, and questions are being asked, whose responsibility is it? Is it the top owner? So ultimately, the general rule of thumb is inside the unit, it's your responsibility. External to the unit would be the body corporate's responsibility. So pipes and walls, external to the unit being shared across multiple units would be something that the body corporate is supposed to have a maintenance policy for, repair policies, and even insurance if it's an insurable event. So damage caused by a burst pipe, for example, would be an insurable event. But you typically find that insurance companies would refuse to cover anything if it's just for lack of maintenance. So one does need to be careful, like claims would typically be repudiated here if the body corporate hasn't maintained what they were supposed to maintain. So long story short, there's not enough detail or facts in this question to be able to identify whether this is a body corporate responsibility, but I would definitely consider it, consider the notion, if there are flats around you, and this could possibly be shared pipes, it could be argued that the body corporate is the one responsible for it. And maybe the seller did it because it's not that big a deal and they just paid for someone to come in. But now he's not willing to take any further responsibility for it because it's typically something that doesn't fall within his scope. And that goes back to Cilna's answer on the contractual responsibilities, whether the CPA applies, if there's an agent involved, does it apply to the seller, what is his responsibilities, and also bearing in mind the fact that because he repaired it, is there this kind of tacit obligation now that he, by repairing it, has taken some form of responsibility. But unfortunately, it is quite a complex question. So I hope that kind of gives you multiple options.
Yeah, thanks, Cilna. Thanks, Bruno.